Watching TV has changed over time. Streaming has become the new norm. That's why Golden State Media Concepts television podcast dives headfirst to the world of cord cutting. Want to be on the loop of what's hot in Netflix? Or if it's not a preference, what about original shows in Hulu? We've got you covered. Join us as we fill in the blanks and talk about movies to stream and what show you should be binging. This is the Golden State Media Concepts television podcast.
And welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts television podcast. I'm Pauline.
And I'm Shay Northrup.
And today's episode is going to be a lot of fun. Shay and I are both going to share with you our favorite shows as of right now that we're into right now. But to first start it off, we wanted to talk about cord cutting because right now we are moving into a time where you don't really need cable. You don't even really need a TV, honestly, if you don't want one, and you can still enjoy a lot of the shows that you watch. And it's coming to a time where if you just at least have like a phone, you can do a lot. And one thing that I think is keeping a lot of people semi-connected, I know that this is for like our boss as well as like my dad, is sports. But there may be a solution to that when it comes to not really needing to even have cable to watch all your NFL and football. Well, that's the NFL, but to watch basketball as well as MLB. I know that a lot of these organizations, especially with sports, are actually partnering with Twitter to do live streaming and to have exclusive pre-game and post-game shows that will exclusively stream live just to Twitter, just on that Twitter platform. So for that, you wouldn't even need your TV at all to watch your sports.
Yes. So as is tradition on the Golden State Media Concepts television podcast, we're going to talk to you guys a little bit about cord cutting, as Pauline said. And one of the things that's really interesting is, yes, Twitter, it has been making deals with various sports companies to stream their shows live and kind of working a little bit like Twitch in the fact where you can kind of interact with the show while you're watching the show, the whole second screen experience, so to speak.
Right.
Now, one of the things that may be getting Twitter on there is Apple TV. Like, Apple TV is working with Twitter and to get some of these live streams. So could this possibly be the option to get rid of your cable so you don't have to watch cable, like watch NFL through cable? The answer is a very firm maybe.
Yeah. Right. Because I think there is always going to be, especially as far as sports are concerned right now, like the foreseeable future, going to be a need for cable.
Right, like NFL Sunday Ticket and that sort of thing.
Right.
But maybe if, we do, they like if ESPN or if Twitter is able to get the rights to do it and they can stream all their shows whenever, then who knows? The cable companies really might be, they're going to really need to watch their backs.
Right. I think so, because I know that a lot of, like you said, the rights. It's the rights to all of these things. And the rights to showing these various events, even like with the Olympics, that's a big one. And then with other sporting, so like when you have like MMA and other like boxing events, there's the pay-per-view and things like that. And so it's going to be interesting if Twitter can do that, because I know that Comcast is kind of like a big giant when it comes to this, buying the rights to certain events, and especially in the sports world. And so it would be kind of interesting to see how Twitter can maybe, because there's also that, like you said, the interaction side that fans love and that fans like to be a part of, that Twitter has that capability where cable doesn't.
Well, Comcast is the devil, so we will see what they do and how they stop us. Because Comcast...
Because the interactive side, I personally like that part, and I go to Twitter quickly when for sporting events and to just see updates and just to see what other fans are like talking about. And so I like that interactive side too, and just the fact that now I could watch some of these events while I'm perhaps maybe at work. Just because you wouldn't need a TV,
and so like Apple TV is planning on pairing up with Twitter, so we'll see what happens there. But I know you can stream them. You can stream games on Twitter via like computer and your phone and that sort of thing, correct? So like if you have a like myself or like Jonathan from the the technology podcast, we both have home theater systems where we set up a computer to be our home theater system. You can watch DVDs, you can watch Blu-rays, you can stream Netflix and everything. Just use a computer. It works. People have been doing that since like XP. So if you have a home theater system via that way, you can watch apparently you can watch your games via Twitter on your TV if you really want to. Now, going back to the Comcast thing, that is my personal opinion. That is not the opinion of Golden State Media Concepts. So if you want to fight Comcast, come find me. Anyway, to move on a little bit, another thing that you can do for cord cutting that I know, Drew's kind of talked a little bit about Apple TV, so I'm not going to get into Apple TV too much. I really don't know a whole lot of people that use Apple TV, to be perfectly honest. Like I have one friend that uses it and he loves it. They have original content as well as, your Hulus and your Twitters and your Netflixes and Crackle and whatever it is that you want to use. But one of the things that you can also do now is we talked about it a little bit on the technology show. Highly recommend you go and listen to that as well. The Raspberry Pi 3 is out. And so what that is it's basically a mini motherboard that is the size of a credit card. And what that does is you can program it to do various things, like I think John uses it as a radio. But you can program that thing and get that thing all set up with Linux and Ubuntu and that sort of thing, so you can turn it into a home theater system yourself. And that's like $35 for a full home theater system. Set up just from a Raspberry Pi. You might, like, if you want DVDs and Blu-rays attached to it, you're going to need to get an external Blu-ray drive for that, and that'll cost you around like $80. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's cheaper than a Blu-ray player. And it's, if you know anything about programming, it's a really good way to set up a home theater system in of yourself. And you can set up home theater systems through a Blu-ray player. You can set up home theater systems through a smart TV, though I highly recommend you don't use a smart TV. The thing about smart TVs is they don't always update their firmware. Yeah. So sometimes, like if Netflix updates and your smart TV hasn't updated for like a year, you might not be able to play Netflix in a year. Like the thing about smart TVs is they're usually behind. Like Samsung and a couple other companies don't really do such a good job about keeping things updated. And that's kind of a problem. So I highly recommend that you find some other source of streaming your favorite shows and movies and that sort of thing without using a smart TV. And if you do have a smart TV and you're using your smart TV and it's working fine, all the power to you. Just have something on the back burner, an Xbox 360 or something. Or I know that's a little dated, Xbox One.
And I mean, I do have a smart TV, and I was really excited when our family got this TV because I was like, oh, cool, this is going to be a lot of fun. But honestly, we don't really use a lot of the features with the smart TV because, like you were saying, it is kind of, it does not update that easily and that readily. And sometimes you don't even know that it's not updated until you're trying to do something and you're like, what the heck is happening? And then you get frustrated. So a lot of times we actually do like the mirror screening with our TV. We enjoyed that, which is easy and quick to do too.
What do you use to mirror the screen?
I actually just use like my tablet.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we
perfect.
do
that's a perfect home theater system.
Yeah, and then which is kind of nice because like then you don't have any cords or anything, so you can keep your tablet like plugged in. So if you're watching like movies and things like that, you don't have to worry about battery life and things like that. And it's So I think there's features on like smart TVs that you can use that are a lot of fun and like make it easy. But a lot of times like searching the internet on your TV, it's so slow. And it's just like, you might as well just grab your tablet and mirror screen it up there, or your...
So you have firsthand experience with the negative effects of this.
It's cool to say, you know, that you have a smart TV, I guess.
Well, in the tech world, if you tell someone you have a smart TV, they're going to chuckle at you a little bit.
Right. Right. So, I mean, it's cool, though.
It's great. It's great for the elderly.
Right. For the elderly.
That was, shots fired. I'm sorry. Standing down.
It's good. It's not terrible.
Yeah.
But we don't really use a lot of those features that they use as like selling points for it, I guess you could say.
Mirror screening is a really awesome thing. YouTube has been really using that a lot. And I'm going to save that for another episode where we can talk about using YouTube as just like a provider, because you can do a lot of cool things with YouTube right now. I'm going to save that for another podcast. Right now, we're going to go on a break, so listeners, please stay tuned. And up next, we're going to be talking about...
The Night of, my show right now that I'm, like, addicted to.
All right, peace be with you.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Namaste, listeners, and welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts television podcast. Now, Pauline has a little something she wants to tell you about one of her new favorite shows. Go ahead and give it to us.
So it's called The Night of, and it's an HBO series. It's kind of like a mini series because it's only 8 episodes. And one thing that I like about this series is that the episodes are an hour long. Like, I hate the 30-minute episode things that, you know, I just feel like as soon as you get settled in and you get relaxed, it's over. And so I like that it's an hour for each of these episodes. And
I have to disagree with you with that. I actually like 30-minute episodes.
Why?
But go ahead.
No.
Do you want me to explain why I like 30-minute episodes better?
I do.
I like 30-minute episodes better because I don't always have time to sit around and watch a whole hour of things.
True.
Like, I like it sometimes when it's short and sweet, and then I can just watch a half an hour and then go do something else. You know, the hour-long episodes, sometimes there's a little bit of dead space. You know, I feel like 30 minutes is like the perfect, and it depends on the show too. Like if you're watching like a comedy, then like a 30-minute episode is perfect. That's all you need. But then like if you're watching something deep and dramatic, then yes, an hour is probably more along the lines of what you want.
And so I think, well, then that's why I like The Night of being an hour, because there is a lot going on, and there's no commercials, which is great because, you know, HBO. So it's an 8-part series, but I'm only I just finished episode 3, so I'm actually kind of like behind because it's going on right now, and I believe that they just aired, I want to say episode 6 or 7, so I'm kind of behind right now.
Shame.
I know. I just found out about this past weekend. And so I'm not quite sure if it's based on a true story or not. They haven't said that it is, but I'm hoping that it's based on a true story. I don't know. I'm not quite sure because I don't want to read anything online about it because I don't want to spoil it for myself.
Gotcha.
And things like that. So I kind of just want to see what happens as it happens. But basically,
just to let you know, most things that say that they're based on a true story are not based on a true story. Or maybe the only true thing that happened was that Beverly and Joe went and got a sandwich.
Right.
At one particular
it's
time.
One little piece.
It's like so don't.
So
don't take anytime, listener, you hear someone say based on a true story.
Fargo.
Take it with a grain of salt.
Fargo.
You could end up dead in Minnesota. in a snowstorm.
Frozen.
So
anyway, it's actually about a murder. It's a crime story. And the main character that it's all centered on, his name is Nasir, and he goes by Nas in the show.
That's a cool name.
And yeah, it is a really cool name. And so far, I think what I like about it is because I like crime stories, and I like
me too,
watching like just investigative type things and trying to
Murder.
like figure out who did it. Yeah, like murder, crime, mystery. Like I like all that. And so it has a lot of that in it right now. And it's a whole lot of you're not sure what is going to happen. Like I'm not sure if because I don't want to tell too much about it, right? Because it's going on right now. But Nasir, I'm kind of like connected to him, but kind of not. You know, he's a really good character because you're not quite sure. They don't really give you a lot of his background and things like that. It kind of just dives into the situation. Yeah, so you're not quite sure if, as much as you know about him, you like him, but you're not quite sure, you know? And so I'm really interested to see what comes out of him, because right now he seems to me like it seems like one of those wrong places, wrong time type thing, but is it really? And
dun, dun, dun.
one character who's kind of like a side character is the mom. And see, I always try to see like other elements of the shows that give away clues that people don't, because everybody right now is supposed to be focused on Nasir, right?
Right.
But I'm trying to figure out other clues and things. And one person that really strikes me right now that I'm like really watching her intently is his mom. And not because I don't think that his mom did anything, but I think that she knows something about her son that we don't know yet, that is going to come to light soon, that may jeopardize him and indict him even more for some odd reason. I'm not quite sure because she just does things that seem kind of like odd, and I'm like, what is she doing? But then she's also playing like the grieving mom, so it's like it could just be that she's just so distraught that she's just acting out of like character. But then I'm like, like there's a scene like when she's in his room looking for something, and it's like, what is she looking for? And she's looking for something, but then she even lies about it. She goes, oh, I was just up there doing laundry. So it's like, what are you hiding, woman? What do you know about Nas that we don't know yet? And so I'm really interested to see, because I'm assuming that this is going to go to trial now, this situation that he's going to be on trial, and that it's going to be like a full dragged out thing.
Interesting.
And so I am really interested to see what's going to happen to him at the end of the trial, what's going to happen during the trial. And also because there's a whole lot of other elements, because of course he's like a Pakistani young man who lives in New York and things like that. And so one thing that I do like about this show is that they play on a lot of stereotypes of all different types of races and things like that.
Interesting.
And so it's one of those things where you can't tell if they do a really good representation of that area in New York. They don't leave things out, and they don't you can't tell if they're slighted towards looking at minority groups in a bad light or in a good light, because like the police officers, a lot of them are minority officers, but then when they show the prison, a lot like the prison is filled up with minorities. So it has a really good representation of what it's like in that area and things like that. And I don't know, I like it because it has like the murder in it, the murder mystery, and we're trying to figure out who did it, and did he really do it, did he not do it, what's going on, type of a thing. So that's like has that suspense. But then I think the director also does a really good job of giving us an inside look of what Nasir is going through, and they're really humanizing him. And I think that's why I'm not sure whether or not I like him or not, because he supposedly is a bad guy because allegedly he did this. And all that we know, it seems to point that he did this, but then we are seeing like the human side of him, and they're doing a really good job of showing how this is affecting him and things like that. And so you kind of like feel for Nas, like, you know, because you're kind of like, oh, like I feel bad for him because he's never gotten into any trouble, and now all of a sudden all this crazy, he's in Rikers Island, you know, and it's just like the poor guy, and you feel bad for him, but then it's like, he's being charged with like homicide, you know? So it's like, and sexually assaulting a girl. So it's kind of like, you can't really feel bad for somebody like this, but then I don't know. And so I think
Did he do it?
I see.
That's the thing.
That
we don't know, right?
We don't know yet. We think so. We're led to believe that he did do it, but we're not sure. And my theory is that, and like I said, I'm only on episode 3, so I haven't even seen anything deeper than just like the build up as far as what's been going through with episode 3.
Right.
So I'm watching this show with my mom. My mom thinks that the stepdad did it. I think he's actually an irrelevant character. Like, I think he's just kind of like there and just, added in. He's like a side character. But I don't think Nas did it, but I don't know who did it yet. I don't think we've met the killer yet.
Well,
you know
obviously it was Old Man Jenkins.
Oh.
If you know anything about Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. So
it's funny because like one of the things that always bothers me in like mystery movies and mystery shows, and Scooby-Doo is probably like the worst in this,
right,
is like it was the clerk of the store that you went into and bought a jelly bean from in the first episode, like,
right.
And they never show them again. Like, oh man, I could talk all day about like the video game Life is Strange and why I think it's such a terrible game because of things like that, like because of,
right.
And he better not be an alien. I'm just saying.
So
that sounds far-fetched, but like I've seen a million movies where it's like, oh man, I wonder what's going on, and it just turns out to be aliens
or something. Right, something so far-fetched. So I'm interested to see how they're going to do his trial,
right,
and what's going to happen. Because like I said, I don't think it's based on a true story, but I don't want to read anything online or anything.
Well,
because I don't want to ruin it for myself. This is one show that I really want to see what happens as I watch the episodes, because sometimes like with other shows that are going on, like when I read like spoilers, I'm like, oh, okay, like because sometimes with Game of Thrones,
right,
I would see things like articles and I'd be like, oh, okay, but I wouldn't mind that I've read like this spoiler. Or like on Twitter when people are talking about shows as it's happening, they're like, oh, why did so and so die? And I'm like, great, now I know that they died. But it doesn't really turn me off. But this is a show that I really want to see what's going to happen as it happens.
Right. Well, and it's HBO, so I don't think we're going to get an Old Man Jenkins, and I don't think we're going to get aliens. So, like, HBO has a pretty good track record on their shows.
I'm wondering who else is going to die. That's also my thing.
Well, it looks like we're coming up on a break pretty soon. When we get back, I'm going to talk to you guys about a show that I started watching recently called Danger 5. And we'll be back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hello, listeners. This is the Golden State Media Concepts television podcast, and I am about to talk to you guys about a show called Danger 5. I haven't told Pauline anything about this. She doesn't know anything about the show, and right now I am going to read you guys the synopsis of the first episode. It is called I Dance for Hitler.
Oh.
A team of Nazi Zeppelins abduct the Eiffel Tower, and Danger 5 heads straight to Paris to investigate. The team finds help from an all-girl team of resistance vixens, but their plans are swiftly hampered by Nazi task force raid. I cannot really read this name for the life of me, and Claire are taken to a torture dungeon where Joseph Goebbels recruits them as part of a dance troupe for Hitler's birthday spectacular. Tucker and Perry follow the girls to Hitler's private retreat, the Eagle Nest, and try to mount a rescue mission. Meanwhile, Jackson tries to stop the Nazis from stealing the Statue of Liberty. So this show Oh man, this show is an interesting show. I'll give you a little bit. I'll tell you a little bit about it, and then I'll give you a little bit of like the backstory behind how it even exists.
Okay.
So this show is set up like an old 1960s like serial show. So like there's this task force called the Danger Five, and they have to go, and their main objection is to always kill Hitler. So Hitler is always involved. They're always trying to stop the Nazis, and it's very much done in that like Team America style way.
Right.
Like in the first episode, if you haven't seen the show, then stop listening to this podcast and please go watch Danger 5. It's hilarious. In the first episode, for Hitler's birthday, the Nazis go and steal a bunch of world monuments. And like with Zeppelins, mind you, they go and steal all the world monuments, and then they go and arrange them in a way to where it shows Hitler doing, his salute.
Right.
So they forge it into that. And so at the end of the episode, they go and they save the Statue of Liberty and let the rest of the world monuments blow up.
Oh.
So it's done in this really campy, like really cheesy cheeseball action show. Like think the show Land of the Lost, or any of those really campy 60s movies and shows where like the women are usually, unfortunately, dumb and just sex objects, and like the men are just these like pigs that shoot guns and drink a ton of alcohol, and everybody's always drinking. And like one of the characters, every time somebody dies, he goes up to them and they whisper like the perfect mix for a perfect new alcohol. So he knows all these new alcoholic things to make. The second episode's hilarious. The second episode, they go and it's called Lizard Soldiers of the Third Reich. So it's Nazi dinosaurs that they have to fight. The show is ridiculous. It's so funny. And the reason that the show even exists is because of a little web series that came out in 2007 called Italian Spider-Man. Now, I don't know if you guys know anything about Italian Spider-Man, but it is hilarious. This show is Australian too, by the way, and so was Italian Spider-Man. Italian Spider-Man is set up to be like those old Italian films that are like knockoffs of other films. And so like it's Spider-Man, and he's this really chubby dude with long hair and like like a black mask, and he's running around with like shotguns and stuff, like fighting luchadors and flying snakes on strings, and it's just like super low budget with that old 60s and 70s twist to it. And so the channel SBS in Australia saw that, and they were really interested in making it into a show. But unfortunately, it fell through. And so they've been kind of looking for this kind of thing for a while. And then they picked up Danger 5, which the first pilot episode aired on YouTube in November 2011. And since then, February the 27th, I Danced for Hitler, the first episode came out. And so there are 2 seasons. We're waiting for a 3rd season. And this show is just hilarious. It is all kinds of fun. If you love old ridiculous 60s television with all the chauvinism and all the guns and blood and all the America you can muster, this is definitely the show for you. And it's so tongue-in-cheek. Like in every episode, Hitler escapes by jumping out a window, and it's the same footage of Hitler jumping out a window every single time. Like it is too funny for its own good. I really enjoy this show. It's one of those ones that my girlfriend and I like. So we have a list of shows that just her and I watch, and I'm not allowed to go any further in the show, and she's not allowed to go any further in the show until we get together and watch it. So it's this one and Hemlock Grove. And so I'm currently halfway through the first season, and I am definitely not tired of it yet. I actually might go and watch some behind her back. Oh. And then pretend like I never saw them and watch them over again.
Watch it over again.
If she's listening to this podcast, my evil scheme is foiled. But and there's nothing like a bunch of good old Nazi killing to just get your day going. Like
get your day started.
They're the ultimate villains. So like you can put them in anything, and they just, like everyone just loves to watch them die. Like the whole reason people went and saw Inglourious Bastards wasn't for Quentin Tarantino's tasty dialogue. It was because we wanted to watch swastikas get carved into Nazis' heads. Like let's be honest, we hate them. Even like movies like Dead Snow just exist because we hate Nazis so much. Like I mean who likes Nazis except maybe other Nazis?
Yikes.
there's I think it was in this show, I'm pretty sure, where like they're tied up and they're like, "You Nazi," and he's like, I'm a Nazi. Why would you think that this is insulting to me?
Right.
Like, you're just telling me what I
am.
So, it's good stuff. Good stuff. So if you have a bit of a love of history and you have a love of old, television and old movies that are definitely cheeseball, this is definitely the thing for you, especially if you love things that are tongue-in-cheek, because this stuff is all comedy and done in such a very like tongue-in-cheek way. Even the filming looks like it was shot in the 70s. Like if you put this on in front of somebody who was like from that time, they might think that they're watching a movie from their age period. Like if you put this on in front of probably a kid, they'd just be like, what's this? This is old, like that sort of thing. So what happened before, there are 15 episodes out right now, and there's going to be, let's see, I think season 2 is already out. Season 3 is up and coming. And one of the things that they did before the show even started was there was a little prologue web series entitled Danger 5, The Diamond Girls, which was released weekly on YouTube throughout November and December of 2011. And it led up to the Australian broadcast. So since then, Danger 5 has been released in the UK on Netflix and US Netflix. It came out on in 2015. I highly recommend this show. If you are in love with this sort of thing, please go on Netflix right now and watch it, because it's pretty great. And the cool thing about this too is it's one of those shows where it's set up to where you can come in at any episode and it doesn't matter, because they never really give you too much of an explanation about the characters. They never really give you, it's just these 5 hooligans chasing after Hitler. And we all want to see Hitler get it in the end, but we'll see what happens. Another interesting thing that I think is kind of funny is their boss is literally just a man with an eagle head.
That's great.
And so it's like a costume eagle head. It's definitely too big for the shoulders and everything. Right. And when he talks, the mouth just kind of flaps around.
That's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, no, I don't know if this would be necessarily a show that I don't know. I'm not sure if you would enjoy this as much as I would, but there are definitely some things that I think anybody can find funny, and it's definitely for those who are not if you get offended by little things, right. If I've offended you in this show in any way, then you will definitely be offended by this show. Yeah. Lots of perverse language, lots of sexual humor, lots of violence. So it is not for the faint of heart, folks. And I believe that is all the time we have for today, Polly. Man, time does go fast.
It did.
So if you enjoyed this show, which I know you did, go to goldenstatemediaconcepts.com. And you can subscribe to all our shows on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, all that sort of thing. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. Please leave us some comments. Tell us what you thought about the show. Tell me how much you disagree with everything I say and how horrible I am. Now, with that being said, I'm Shane Northrup.
And I'm Pauline.
And we will see you on the other side.